Hello, Dean Schwimmer here. Welcome to today's vlog. Just one subject today, which is the trial that is to begin on Tuesday, February 9th. The trial for whether to remove Trump from office under the article of impeachment submitted by the House. I am going to read to you part of Trump's lawyer's answer to the article of impeachment. I want to, a couple of reasons, just to let you know what's in it in case you didn't read it, but you really should. It's only 14 pages total. It's not that long. That's 14 pages double spaced. It's not a long read, and it's a very interesting read, but there was a logical contradiction that I always saw in this whole second impeachment process that apparently the lawyers saw also. They're mentioning it in the answer. So obviously I want to toot my own horn and I want to mention that, but also because it demonstrates to me, this particular contradiction demonstrates to me that this whole second impeachment exercise has nothing to do with justice or insurrection or whatever the heck they're talking about. It's partly a vendetta against Trump, and it's also an effort to prevent him from being able to run in 2024 for president again, which raises anew the question that I asked in an earlier vlog, which is what are the Democrats afraid of? If Trump was such a horrible president, if he did something so horrible, and if the election, if there were, say, no problems with one or more state attorneys general just violating the state law or their state's law. And as I'm going to mention tomorrow, I'll talk more about this tomorrow, if it's no problem that state senates are going, or state legislatures are going to take steps to remedy these problems, these violations of state law, to ensure that they don't happen in 2024. If all of that is no problem, then they should want Trump to run again. Biden beat him once, fair and square, correct? So that's a narrative. That's what I'm required to say, or YouTube will take down my video. So if that is, I have to say that it is the fact, but assuming that's the fact, then they should want him to run again. He'll just lose. He'll just lose again. So I have to say that they have some apprehension that if he runs again, that he would win. So that is what I think this is all about. But what proves it is, I'm going to read part of the argument, the counter-argument that Trump's lawyers submitted to the Senate. So here we go, quoting from the article. I'll probably jump in with my own comments, but my comments should be as good as, you can judge whether my comments are as good as what's in the answer. Here we go. The House of Representatives' action in depriving the 45th president of due process of law created a special category of citizenship for a single individual, the 45th president of the United States. So what the lawyers are talking about here, the lack of due process, if you'll think back to the first impeachment, there were weeks of hearings, and even that wasn't fair because the Democrats restricted, they could call any witness they wanted, but the Republicans had to have their witness requests vetted by the Judiciary Committee and the Intelligence Committee chairman, Jerry Nadler and Adam Schiff, respectively. So even that wasn't fair, but in this case, there were no witnesses at all. They just rushed through the process. The president really had no chance to defend himself or to have his lawyers defend him or for the Republicans to call any witnesses because there were no witnesses. That's number one. Number two, when the answer says special category of citizenship for a single individual, that's very close to what's called a bill of attainder, a law passed to punish a particular individual. For instance, if you find a loophole in the tax code and you're a billionaire and you find a way to pay no taxes, the Senate, the legislature, can plug that loophole going forward, but they cannot pass a special law going backwards to get the money that you legally did not have to pay. That's what a bill of attainder is, and that's what they're saying, is that they're creating a special category for Donald Trump. They would not be doing this if it were, say, Barack Obama or any other president, at least in the past. Who knows what they would do going forward. But anyway, so that's also why this would be unconstitutional. Getting back to quoting from the article, should this body not act in favor of the 45th president, the precedent set by the House of Representatives would become that such persons as the 45th president, similarly situated, no longer enjoy the rights of all American citizens guaranteed by the Bill of Rights. The actions by the House make clear that, in their opinion, the 45th president does not enjoy the protections of liberty upon which this great nation was founded, where free speech and indeed free political speech form the backbone of all American liberties. None of the traditional reasons permitting the government to act in such haste, that is, exigent circumstances, were present. The House, and this is the important part, the House had no reason to rush its proceedings, disregard its own precedents and procedures, engage in zero committee or other investigation, and fail to grant the accused his, quote, opportunity to be heard, unquote, in person or through counsel, all basic tenets of due process of law. There was no exigency, as evidenced by the fact that the House waited until after the end of the president's term to even send the articles, and there was thus no legal or moral reason for the House to act as it did. Political hatred has no place in the administration of justice anywhere in America, especially in the Congress of the United States. And that is the logical contradiction. Now, remember, the main argument, or a large argument in this whole process, is whether the president or whether an ex-president can be removed from an office he no longer holds. If he's a private citizen, can he still be impeached and removed from office? The president and the Republicans and many, many other legal experts say no, he can't. The Democrats say that yes, he can, and they do have some lawyers backing up their position. I'm not going to argue that point now. I'm just going to assume, as the lawyers say, in arguendo, for the sake of argument, let's assume that the Democrats are correct in their belief. Well, it doesn't matter. They believe that the president or an ex-president can be impeached and removed from office. So then the question is, why did they rush through the process before he left office to charge him, but not even to deliver the articles of impeachment? If Trump can be impeached after he's left office, then they have all the time in the world. They could hold these weeks and even months of hearings. They could impeach him whenever, if they can do it after he left office. They could, well, heck, you could, if you follow that logic, you could impeach maybe Franklin Roosevelt, FDR, for putting Japanese Americans in concentration camps during World War II. I guess the question is whether you can impeach a dead president, but I guess if you believe you can impeach an ex-president, then I guess maybe you can. But the point I'm making, as you can see, is why did they rush through this process? They apparently thought they had to at least vote the articles of impeachment before he left office, which is, it just shows that their whole this whole process is bogus. They just wanted they wanted to impeach him as soon as possible, and then they decided to take their time delivering the articles of impeachment. And, well, as I said, as this argument says, as Trump's lawyers say, they had all the time in the world. There was no reason to rush this process or the beginning of the process and then drag their feet for the rest of the process. It just shows that this is just a personal vendetta, and as Trump's lawyers wrote in this answer, political hatred has no place in the administration of justice anywhere in America, especially in the Congress of the United States. Now, I want to mention one more point from this answer, something I hadn't thought of, but Trump's lawyers did, and it's an excellent point. So let me just give you this one quote, and then that will be it for today. So just bear with me, one more quote. Here we go. The article is constitutionally, the article of impeachment, the article is constitutionally flawed in that it charges multiple instances of allegedly impeachable conduct in a single article. This was something that I missed. By charging multiple alleged wrongs in one article, the House of Representatives had made it impossible to guarantee compliance with the constitutional mandate in Article 1, Section 3, Clause 6, that permits a conviction only by at least 2/3 of the members. The House charge fails by interweaving differing allegations rather than breaking them out into counts of alleged individual instances of misconduct. Rule 23 of the Rules of Procedure and Practice in the Senate when sitting on impeachment trials provides, in pertinent part, that an article of impeachment shall not be divisible thereon. Because the article, and this is the important part, because the article at issue here alleges multiple wrongs in the single article, it would be impossible to know if 2/3 of the members agreed on the entire article or just on parts as a basis for vote to convict. The House failed to adhere to strict Senate rules and instead chose to make the article as broad as possible, intentionally, in the hope that some senators might agree with parts and other senators agree with other parts, but that when these groups of senators were added together, the House might achieve the appearance of 2/3 in agreement when those 2/3 of members in reality did not concur on the same allegations interwoven into an overbroad article designed for just such a purpose. Such behavior on the part of the House of Representatives may have a less nefarious reason in the alternative and simply be a byproduct of the haste in which the House unnecessarily acted while depriving the 45th President of the United States of his American right to due process of law. The 45th President of the United States believes, and this is the very important part, pay attention to this, the 45th President, and very smart on the part of the lawyers, by the way, the 45th President of the United States believes and therefore avers that the defect in the drafting of the article requires that senators be instructed that if 2/3 of them fail to find any portion of the article lacking in evidence sufficient for conviction, then the entire article fails and should be dismissed. In other words, I think that's pretty clear, but just to put that all in a nutshell, what they're saying is you have to disaggregate all these separate examples of alleged misbehavior and vote on each one. And if you find any of them, you have to find every instance, every statement that, for instance, when the president says, I expect you all to patriotically and peacefully make your voice heard, that he's calling for them to riot. You have to believe that. 2/3 of the senators have to believe that. They can't just believe that when he says you have to fight or we're not going to have a country anymore. You say that means he's inciting an insurrection, but this other one does not. You have to believe that they both do. And if you do not believe even one of these, if 2/3 of the senators do not agree on every example of alleged misconduct and statements that incite to riot, then the entire article of impeachment falls. That's a very strong and a very good argument, and very smart argument. And the smartest thing that all of you could do is give me a thumbs up if you like this video, share with anybody you think would also like it. Got any comments? Comment section below the video where you can put questions, suggestions for future topics. You could visit my music channel. I have a music channel. There's a link in the description where I put my original music, songs I write and perform myself. You could subscribe. I love getting new subscribers. I appreciate the time that you all spend with me. It really means a lot to me. It's nice to be able to share my views with all of you. And I would love to see all of you again and share more of my views. So I look forward to seeing all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.